Hi, I'd like to welcome you to the third of our 4 sessions on Hangouts on Air. I'm going to start right away and take you right into the presentation. So we'll pick up where we left off the last time. So far we've talked about the bandwidth and usage requirements for Hangouts on Air. We've looked at the lights, camera, and audio implications. Now we want to identify some of the applications for Hangouts on Air. So to that end, we'll start with the applications that a normal participant might use, those applications that will help them make whatever presentation is necessary at the business meeting, and then we'll go into the applications used by the host. So let's get started. To begin with, the first and most important application that we'll find is the Screenshare app. Now, Screenshare is the application I've been using all along to run this PowerPoint presentation. What Screenshare does is when I select the Screenshare icon over here, which is this small icon like that, what it does is it in turn pulls up a window on the screen that I see as a presenter, and it allows me the options to look at a variety of functions. The first two functions, one called screen, and those two options are used for mirroring functions. It's so that the viewers can see exactly what I see. They can see what's in the screen right now, or they can see what I have in terms of Google options. Now the problem with these is that they're mirroring options. So in effect, I'm creating a virtual camera that's looking at a camera. And if I activate them on my own screen rather than another participant's screen, what's going to happen is that we are going to, in fact, create a mirror off into infinity. I'm going to show you this. We're going to stop the sharing for a moment, and I'm going to take a screen, which is the first option, and it'll take a minute. And you see what happens is the screen goes off into infinity. So it's really not useful, or doesn't seem useful. And this time, what I'm going to do is before I go in there, before I take that action, I'm going to select a second view. Now you'll see a different camera here. And what that camera is looking at, it's looking at me from an iPhone. Okay, I just happen to have it pointed up in a corner. And by the way, I talked about glare. You obviously don't want the glare that way. And this is what that corner looks like in the daylight. If I can figure out how, there we go. So it's a little bright. So what Screenshare allows me to do is to look at all of the options. Now I told you in the upper right-hand corner there was the option to change the display. This is the original display. I can go to black and white if I'm so inclined. I can change it to enhanced, which is what you're looking at right now, to a smooth display. I can change it from smooth to a warm display, which is what I tend to use most of the time. It works under the lighting system that I happen to have. You can spotlight it. I'm not real crazy about spotlight, but it works. I can brighten it, and that's a little too bright, so I would probably have to turn down some lighting. And I'm still not too fond of that spotlight version or brightened version. I can focus it, and what that does is actually dims everything around the face. I'd rather have my face out of focus, frankly, at my age. So I tend to just go with a warm background. That's what you're seeing now. Okay, let's get back into the presentation, and that's the Screenshare application. The second app that we use extensively is called the Toolbox app. What the Toolbox app does is it allows me to put a title on the bottom of the screen. In this case, and this is called the lower third. I get to the lower third by selecting this button under Hangouts Toolbox. The Hangouts Toolbox itself, which is up here, is selected on the left side of the screen there. When we select it, we can then select lower third. You can place a name in there. It's useful. Across the bottom of the screen, right here, that area is called the film strip. And that film strip is where all 10 participants will appear. So the toolbox is used in order to select the lower third. In other words, if you want a name title on your screen, that's where you do it. You can get fancy and create a custom one. I prefer to just go with a simple default setting. Seems to be fine. When it displays, by the way, the display that you see is mirrored. In order to change that display, you have to click on this button, which reverses the screen, and that allows you to, so it looks clean to you. In other words, it's a mirrored image of the actual picture. The third application that's used, that we tend to use, is the YouTube application. We can preload videos that we want to present in the YouTube application, select them, and then once selected, we can sit back and play them. They'll appear on the screen in full screen, but you're in a control mode right now, so you can see the functions that are there. So if, for example, we were doing a seminar and wanted to show the brighter headlights for your Beaver videos that are out on YouTube's that Roy Mueller did, and Bill Sprague, of course, was his producer, then you could present those. So it gives us a flexibility to present videos, to present basically anything. Now, I'm going to back up for a second because I want to point something out that's kind of important that I've sort of overlooked. So let's go back, and what we're looking at is a Screenshare app again. You'll notice in the Screenshare app you only see 2 actual programs that appear to be open. The other 2 are for mirroring displays, and they're always there. But if you look over here, you'll see that a number of applications are open. Some of those applications happen to be in the full screen or kiosk mode, and they don't screen share. So you can't have it in the full screen mode. You've got to select something less than a full screen mode in order to screen share. Just a point of information. So with that pretty much wraps up the applications that are used by the participant. And the key application is Screenshare. It allows you to show a spreadsheet, a PowerPoint presentation, a Word document, whatever it is that you want to convey. You can do pretty much anything through Screenshare. As the host or moderator would be a more appropriate term, you need to be able to control the display. The bottom portion of that display, the thing that I mentioned before, and I'm actually going to take us out to, contains what's this area down here is actually, and actually I'll just put maybe I'll put an arrow here. Maybe I won't. That's actually called the film strip. And we'll list all 10, you'll see pictures of all 10 participants in a film strip. In the case of producing this material, I just used 1, so it's a little hard to see it. But if you have more than 1, what happens is that as a conversation goes on, if I'm talking and someone else is talking, then this thing will flip back and forth. And if we're arguing, it'll flip back and forth fairly rapidly. What you want to do to control that is you want to hit this second button. Broadcast the large video that I see on my audience and hide the other video feeds. This particular icon that you see up here for cameraman only appears on the host screen. No one else has control. So that individual has the ability to control what the audience sees. Now you as a participant see whatever you select, but the audience at large sees whatever the hosts select. The other thing that's important or useful here is down here at the bottom. And what that does is if we have a lot of participants in a true panel environment, then what we have the ability to do is mute new additions to the group if we have more than 3 participants, or really 1 or 2 remote participants is what we're talking about in a presentation. Very important application for the host or moderator. Let's talk about control room. Every user comes up. If control room is open on the right-hand side, what we will see is an icon for each individual with a microphone and a camera beside it, as well as a volume control. This allows the moderator the ability to either mute an individual, reduce or increase the volume on their microphone, or blank out their picture. So this puts the moderator in control of those individuals. In this case, I was the only one up, so you just see one. If there were 10 up there, you'd see 10 different pictures going down the right-hand side. The third application is called the question and answer application. To use the question and answer application, it must be turned on before you start the broadcast. If it's not turned on before the broadcast starts, it doesn't work. Simple as that. Has to be started before we go live. What it does is it allows the moderator to see the questions that are being, or the moderator or whoever we have watching social media, to see the particular questions being asked by the audience. And then we can respond to those questions live. The next app that we have is called Chat. Chat's somewhat of a useless application from my perspective. It simply allows for text messaging between the 10 participants. It's never seen by the audience. It's a place for snide remarks, I suppose. That concludes the third of 4 Hangouts on Air videos.